What is up, everyone? Welcome to this live Locked On Cavs. Hope we snuck you in here with the title. I don't think Kevin Durant is joining the Cleveland Cavaliers, but what I do know
Hey man, never say never.
that I am Chris Manning. I cover the Cavs and NBA for places like Diamond UPROXX and SB for the Sword. Evan Dammarell from Facebook's Right Down Euclid, my co-host, is here. We're going to go 15 minutes or so talking about free agency as it opens. A bunch of stuff has already happened. Jalen Brunson, Supermax contracts, Isaiah Hartenstein going to the Knicks, Oladipo going back to Miami, Malik Monk going to the Kings. The Kevin Durant thing is obviously the big thing here. Colin Sexton is the Cavs' big free agent situation. But Evan, what are you making of what we're seeing right now? I have something I need to write up real quick, but what are you making of what we're seeing out there? Any of these early moves kind of stand out to you as notable as we're putting this through a Cavs lens?
I think it's through a Cavs lens at least. I think losing Isaiah Hartenstein getting paid by the Knicks, good for him. Like he's a very talented center, former G League MVP. Not a huge blow to the Clippers, obviously, because they're not losing too much because they have other pieces in place. But despite what maybe you and I have heard, the Kevin Durant trade request has not really slowed things down necessarily. But in terms of the Cavs, we need to just be waiting to see what happens with Colin Sexton, and then we move forward from there.
This will be the summer we, I think, go look back and remember the Kevin Durant trade being a thing. I think that's going to be what pushes her. Like what happens with him and with Kyrie, I think will shape this summer. I think there's a lot to kind of unfold here. It's interesting that there are moves on the margins happening. I think Hartenstein's a legitimately good backup center. He kind of blossomed in that small sample in Cleveland. Was really good in LA last year. They made the John Wall move. He goes elsewhere. Malik Monk is someone the Lakers probably could have used next year, and
They got Kyrie.
okay, we'll see if that happens. But like that, there's just a lot going on here, and Jalen Brunson going to the Knicks. Like this is gonna move, and but it doesn't seem exactly like the KD thing may resolve itself today.
No.
Maybe it does, but it also like I don't know exactly how fast this Colin Sexton situation is going to resolve itself either.
So before we talk about the Colin Sexton situation, and I agree, I don't know if it's going to necessarily resolve itself this evening. It may carry on to tomorrow, but hopefully it gets resolved sooner instead of later. But if just asking you this, like I joked about Kyrie going to the Lakers, if you were Kevin Durant and you were a team in this league, what would be your preferred trade partner / destination? If you're the Nets, if you're KD, where you want to play, like he's made it kind of clear through the media, Phoenix and Miami are kind of his preferred destinations. But what would you do? I think Phoenix, if you're the Nets, would be the most attractive trade offer. But I don't know if they can get a deal done necessarily.
I think it's Phoenix, and I think it's Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton if they want him. It seems like they're pushing for Booker, which is obviously the logical first thing to throw out there if you're kind of hunting for that kind of stuff. It's Phoenix to me, and I think if you're KD, and I think if you're Brooklyn, you can live with that. They're in a tough situation because they traded all of those picks to Houston. They can't exactly tank.
I have another proposal for you after you're done.
They just can't tank their way out of this, right? So they have to kind of almost go for some good players and spin that out, figure out what to do with Ben Simmons. There's a lot going on there. So I think Phoenix could work for both sides ultimately. New Orleans and Oklahoma City obviously have a ton of picks to trade. But I think KD rightfully is going to try to dictate where he goes.
Kind of cool to see it go full circle, but
yeah. But if KD doesn't want to go there, I'm like KD's a top 15 at worst all-time player, and this is the last great stretch he's going to have based on just his age. I want to see him get to compete at a high level still, and that as a basketball fan, I want that.
No, I absolutely agree with that. And the hypothetical I wanted to pose to you is, what if you're the Rockets, a team who have a ton of picks that mostly belong to the Brooklyn Nets? Would you offer up Jalen Green and Jabari Smith to maybe grab Kevin Durant, along with maybe some obviously salary to make the margins work in that move, and then you just try to really flesh things out from there? Because the Rockets are an oddly constructed organization. They do things a little differently, but it could be a path as well. I don't know.
But why are they doing that? What is the point? If you're them, you're just getting this rebuild started, all these picks, all these young guys. What is the point?
That's a fair question. I mean, you could ask the same thing in the Nets too, where they landed Kyrie and KD and then completely consolidated their future in the process, and now they're kind of playing the repercussions.
Yeah, but that was
repercussions of their actions.
But that was even the Kenny Atkinson, D'Lo, LeVert Jared Allen nets to like KD and Kyrie. Like there was a leveling up. This would be going from
Yeah.
like you're the worst team in the league with the worst title odds to we have Kevin Durant on our team. Like that's just such a wild swing, and you'd have to remake the whole off the team in like a very short amount of time. That seems like kind of an impossible task to me.
I agree with that, I guess. No, it's just now the shift lanes to the Sexton aspect of things. Beast Girls in the chat just pointed out that Brad Beal just signed a 5-year max deal with the Washington Wizards. It's the surprise in none. He's pretty committed to being with the Wizards, and I also think getting paid makes sense too. Jalen Brunson signed a 4-year, $104 million deal, according to Chris Haynes from Yahoo Sports with the Knicks. There's obviously a lot of moves going around, but do you think that some of these teams could maybe turn around and say, like, okay, Jalen Brunson's off the market. Zach LaVine, if he resigns with the Bulls, is off the market. Do you think a lot of teams maybe shift their focus and try and nab Colin Sexton and make an offer that Cleveland doesn't feel comfortable matching?
I mean, I think it's possible. Just what teams have unique cap space to do it. Not all these teams are going to be cap space teams. The functionality of this market, even with the salary cap going up a little bit, it's not that these teams have. It's not so much about like an offer that would make Cleveland comfortable. It's okay. Do we have stuff that we could offer Cleveland to really entice them to give him up? And you could construct fake trades and think about it. But I don't know if there's a trade out there that I'm like loving if I'm Cleveland, unless someone comes calling with something kind of unexpected that doesn't seem to be out there right now. But
What would be your base? What would be your base for a Colin Sexton sign and trade scenario? Because obviously I know I'm not kind of putting you on the spot, but
I mean, yeah.
the Cavs do have a little bit of leverage. Like they do control where Colin's playing next season. It's them or the team he signs an offer sheet with, but they're not holding him hostage either. I feel like they're going to let him explore the market. And unfortunately, it dried up during the draft, but maybe a team out of nowhere, like Mo Bamba just re-signed with the Magic, so like a team could come out of nowhere because...
Is he going to wear number 5? Like, what's going on there?
I don't know. Maybe wear 11, like he was... switching his jersey number 2 because Paolo took 5. But
like that's one of my favorite stupid NBA stories that just happened. But continue.
I agree, but I could see it being a possibility. But if you're Cleveland, you're trying to get obviously a tangible upgrade that helps you now, and also maybe get some draft picks to kind of pad the loss of Sexton as well. I don't know if you'd maybe get an outright first, maybe a protected, like an outright unprotected first, but maybe like a pretty protected first, or that conveys into a second rounder. You get like 2 second rounders for it along with an upside player. Maybe you get a young piece in there as well, just to, if you're really able to be aggressive with the team. But it's tricky because if he signs an offer sheet with a team that the Cavs don't feel comfortable matching with, the leverage then shifts to the team that he signs with if the Cavs don't want to match, because then the team can just send back whatever the heck they want for Colin Sexton. They don't have to sabotage themselves, because either Cleveland has to stare down the barrel of paying Sexton more than they're comfortable with, or they could lose him for maybe pennies on the dollar, to use a Bill Simmons term.
Yeah, I just don't
Tyus
think
Jones is back with the Grizzlies.
So like this market's gonna move, and like that, I think Evan, that we should talk about the backup point guard market for a minute, because Ricky Rubio's obviously been linked to the Cavs. DeLon Wright, seemingly, I don't know if he's going back to Atlanta now because they just made the DeJounte Murray trade.
It was reported this morning that Washington was interested in DeLon Wright.
So like maybe they go there now because Tyus is going back to Memphis. Like there's a lot kind of unfolding here where like it doesn't, if the Cavs are not going to act early, I wonder what this looks like, tomorrow, day after, as this kind of unfolds a little bit more.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. Like I said, there are some interesting moves, like some moves being wrapped up right away. Like, oh wow, the floodgates really still did open despite this Kevin Durant pseudo standoff that we might be seeing happening and unfolding right now. But
it's a good way. That pseudo standoff is like a really good way of phrasing that.
Because if you're the Nets, obviously Kevin Durant has made it clear he wants to be traded, and Kevin Durant is a player who's going to make a stink if you don't accommodate his wishes. But Joe Ingles signed with the Bucks. There's another Cavs target.
I mean, I like that for the Bucks.
I do too. Nice, let him rehab, and then he can be a quality role player for you once he's fully healthy. But at the same time, in terms of Kevin Durant, like a team, like the Nets can just wait and see who gives them the best offer. Like they can hardball this and drag this out as long as they want, and like they can let this drag into this fall if they absolutely have to.
Yeah, I mean, That would be if they extended it out to that degree. That would be really surprising to me.
Sorry, Joe Ingles' wife is the one who broke that he's signing with the Bucks. That's funny.
Good for Joe Ingles' wife. I approve of this. This is good. Not that it needs my approval, but this is good.
No, I think it's just it's funny, but it's the free agency market's going to be probably a little underwhelming. I think we'll maybe see some other than like big signings. Like I said, Levine's probably going to re-sign with the Bulls at this point, or maybe they do something wild. But the Kings are kind of out of this now after signing Malik Monk. Jokic signed a supermax. Devin Booker signed a supermax. He's on the cover of NBA 2K23. The Sexton market is drying up rapidly, but also at the same time, like Sexton could really like point to the Cavs and say like, hey, a lot of these guys I could be better than if you want to take a risk on me, but you should be paying me like them too. Like, I'm not saying obviously supermax money. I'm not saying Jalen Brunson money at the Knicks, but he could be making $20 million plus if he plays his cards correctly. Because there could be a team out there that like Christian Kirk's the situation entirely too. Like the Knicks could realistically be that team with what they were doing with Brunson, but it could be like a offer the Cavs may have to match because they have no other options just because everything else dried up around them.
I think we should also touch on the Darius Garland extension stuff because that's something I don't think we've talked about enough on the show.
We kind of just said at the top, like, we expect him to sign a max or close to it with the Cavs and then just packed it away.
Yeah, technically, like, these things can't be signed until after 12/01. I know some of these extensions are being reported now, but, like, they can't actually be, like, John Morant, all these other guys, Jokic, etc. Can't technically, I think, be agreed to until 12/01, so July 1st. But that's one of the other bits of business for the Cavs. I don't know if it's going to be a 12/01 immediate thing, and I think some people would like that to just be done. But
just get a Kyrie Irving reaction in his apartment where he's super drunk, just freaking out because he signed him top dollar at the Cavs at 12:01.
But this is one of those things that I suspect is very high on the Cavs' list, and it's one of those things that we will look at. Like, is it a full 5 year? Is it, the last year is an option of some kind? Does he get that in the contract? There's a little nuance of that I think is interesting, and we'll see how that ultimately shapes itself out too.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too. I definitely will say Garland more than earned making top dollar at the Cavs. He more than earned being, like, if the Cavs want to have two guys on a 5-year full max rookie extension, like that's what the CBA currently dictates. Like, I would be comfortable if I were the Cavs signing Garland to one of those spots and letting Evan Mobley be the other one. But also, like you said, there could be some moves as well. Like, what if I feel like Garland's fully committed here, but like obviously things can change 2, 3, 4 years down the line, and maybe things are just different. You give him a player option, you have a team option, and probably a player option realistically though to give him more leverage. But opportunities for player movement opportunities. So when he hits his late 20s at that point, he can either opt out with Cleveland or just re-up with them and continue the good times into his 30s and possibly retirement.
I mean, retirement is so far away. That's just
no, I know,
so
but
long.
I'm just saying, like, if you want to make him a Cavs lifer, there's an avenue to do that. And it's like you said, if they don't sign him to like a 5-year max rookie scale extension, like giving him a player option in year 4 or possibly year 5, if you want to get real tricky with it, could be the avenue you pursue.
Yeah. Is there any? We're going to do a full episode once we kind of see where stuff goes. We'll see where some of this ultimately kind of unwinds to. And thanks everyone for tuning in. Let's see if we got any questions. Maybe we should. So Tia in the chat asked, didn't they give up a draft pick to replace Sexton? Didn't they pick up a draft pick to replace Sexton? I don't know where you're getting your information, but that's troubling. That's not accurate.
It's not that. I think maybe did they pick Ochai Agbaji to replace Colin Sexton? No, there's no overlap between the two. Kobe Altman more or less had the same thing. Like, Sexton is a slasher / bucket getter at the rim. Abaji's more of a floor spacer / 3-and-D type wing. So, yeah, no, we can wrap here if you want, Chris, or if anyone has any questions, shoot them to us. But
let's do some questions and then we'll dip out of here.
Out of all like the gazillion moves that have been announced so far, other than the Joe Ingles one, which we both agree we like, what do you like so far, just in terms of these free agency transactions?
Did the Anfernee Simons thing actually come through, or is that just like
Anfernee Simons? He signed a 4-year, $100 million contract with the Blazers.
25 per?
Yeah,
brother.
That could be setting the market for Sexton too.
Sexton can't, like.
He's punching air right now. He's like, why did I have to get hurt?
that's just like a lot of money. Like Simons is really interesting. That's just like a lot of money where like Colin Sexton has like actually produced a little bit more.
Yeah, but
I
you're
know he's like a
banking on
little
the
bigger and
potential of Simons, and like you can kind of like laugh at them a little bit just because they just moved on from CJ McCollum, and they're still going to try the small backcourt thing, but with a lot of beefier defenders around them. So
and like a
basically,
little
rinse.
and like a little and like the cost is a little bit different too,
Yeah,
obviously.
the cost is a little different too, obviously, but like it's rinse and repeat, like again of what happened last time, and like the Blazers are going to be making a lot of moves to be, at best, the 6th seed, but probably a play-in team next year in the Western Conference.
Yeah, the Simons thing is one of those things that I just look at and I'm just like, I gotta consider that as like Sexton has to in his camp have to look at that and say like, look, we maybe we're not going to get everything we wanted here. That is just like you have to like keep pushing for $20 million.
Yeah, I agree. We have one last question, and we'll wrap here.
Yeah.
Corey Wilkowski asked, would a TJ Warren signing mean at Lauri's starting job? Or what would it mean for Lauri's starting job, and how could it impact the rotation? So TJ Warren's interesting because we haven't seen him since the bubble. He's been dealing with injuries. It's been a very long time. It's like pandemic sweepstakes or pandemic times at this point, pre-pandemic times. So you could see Warren being like an MLE target for the Cavs. They split it up and maybe sign him and Rubio using portions of it because, in theory, TJ Warren gives a lot of the Cavs what they need. But you have to make sure he's healthy first. And if you fully believe he's healthy, also the Pacers were trying to be bad after they traded Sabonis, so maybe that's why they didn't rush Warren back to the floor as well. But, like, it's interesting to see what will happen. But, yeah, I don't think TJ Warren would impact the starting spot for Lauri Markkanen, but he definitely would make him uncomfortable if he's, like, really healthy and he's the same player he was prior to, like, sitting out for the injury.
Yeah, he would. I think.
Holy guacamole! Lou Dort at 5 years, $88 million.
I love that for my guy Dort. I love that.
That's a great signing. Yeah, that's they didn't boozer him. That's all I'll say. There's no blind men in Oklahoma City for him to lie to.
Yeah, like I'm stuck here extra. Save my. I love that for Dort. Boucher got 3 years, 35.
Mm-hmm. But we're asking about TJ Warren. If the Cavs signed him, would he bump Lauri Markkanen? Or are you on the same page as me? Just because we haven't seen him for so long, we have to kind of take a wait and see approach.
You'd really have to see it. And it would be interesting if like Rubio and him were like the two summer moves, and you'd have so much like wait and see with two guys you're kind of banking on helping you.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you have to be cautious in your approach on this one, just because you obviously want to rush these guys back to the floor. And I think if you're the Cavs, you're kind of not set necessarily, but like you have enough pieces in your rotation right now, and maybe some guys who are obviously not like regular rotation players, but guys who can play in like Lamar Stevens or Dean Wade, etc., and so on. Maybe Isaiah Mobley if he's more NBA ready than we thought, but guys that maybe can step up in the absence of guys like Ricky Rubio. Obviously, you're asking Sexton, Levert to do more of the stepping up, and then in like TJ Warren's case, you ask like your okay-ish wings and maybe like Wade and Stevens to step up as well.
Would the tilt? Let's say TJ Warren comes in and is like pretty healthy. Would you think the tilting of what he does versus what Markkanen does, would that interest you in terms of like what he kind of provides you?
I think so, just because TJ Warren possesses the lateral quickness that Lauri Markkanen doesn't really possess at this point, but I just have a lot of questions, a lot of reservations. It wouldn't be the first time the Cavs acquired an injured former Pacer at this point, but like you have to be cautiously optimistic. Hopefully, like things are okay, but like give me a wait and see approach. But like I think just Warren's ability is more of a natural 3 than a 4. Like Markkanen to be more of a natural 4/5 than a 3 really speaks volumes to his defensive acumen. But like there's the playmaking stuff too. There's a little bit of just the 3-point shooting and the gravity in general. And plus like he's a bigger frame like he has in Warren to begin with. So like it makes sense as a starting 3 for the Cavs.
Yeah, it would make some sense. We're gonna end on this comment. I'm getting a little chuckle out of Ice, Mark, and Sexton, and 3 firsts for KD. I'm gonna do what Sean Marks would do, which is hang up. He's not taking that. Tell you that much, everyone.
Didn't Sean Marks also say that their phones weren't on the whole day?
And no, that was Bobby Marks who was who like worked. This was like a long. Yeah. All right, everyone, be well. We're gonna throw this up in podcast form just for vibes and extra content. If you're tuning in,
Don't let free agency stress you out, and don't get your feelings hurt if the Cavs aren't super aggressive. They were never expected to be super aggressive just because financially they're a little locked, and roster-wise they're a little locked too.
Yeah,
could be trade paths. I think the Sexton domino is the big one, and then they make some marginal moves to kind of round out this rotation. But it's not going to be like a huge splashy offseason.
Look, here's my advice: get a big cup, put a lot of water and ice in it, hydrate.
Go
wait. We have to answer this one because my dad is asking questions in the chat, sir. Ivor Manning. Oh my goodness. Wow. Where do we think the Cavs rank in the East and all of the NBA? Do they have future first-round picks to keep building to a championship?
That's an excellent question.
Dad, the answer is yes. They have one, but they traded their next year's first-round pick. Evan, let's answer it this way. Post Murray trade, let's assume the Nets are going to take a big step back.
Yeah.
Where are they? I don't want to say like what rank they are, but are they in like the top tier, the middle tier, the sub middle tier? Like where are they at?
So they're behind Milwaukee. They're behind the Heat. I'd say the Hawks. I'd say the Celtics. Obviously, Chicago. Did I say Milwaukee already? So
yeah, you did. You got we're at 5. So we've said 5. Phil, did you say Philly?
Philly as well. I always forget Philly. Toronto.
You're behind.
I think they're. I just
was like 8?
Toronto. I'd say that's 7, 8, 9, 10. Like they play in possible playoff team next year, and obviously like you're hoping for tangible growth and like development on your player development side of things, but you're also putting a lot of weight on the shoulders of these young kids who have not made the playoffs yet as a team.
Yeah, I think they could get as high as 5 if things break correctly. But is next year the year that they take a massive step forward? Probably not. It's possible that we will look at this offseason and say the Cavs were very quiet and it didn't lead a lot of specific places. And then maybe some of these other things don't work out as well as you would hope. Like, I mean, there is some risk for Atlanta with the Murray trade. We'll see what other moves they make. Doesn't sound like they're done either. Will this Philly stuff work out? Like, will they have
get
bad
Kevin
injury
Durant
luck,
because they jumped to second in betting odds in terms of the Kevin Durant destinations.
Oh my God, this is wild times. All right, the Cavs though, they're not gonna get Kevin Durant. Don't think they're gonna get Kyrie Irving.
The title got you. It was a trick. I deceived you.
That's called SEO right there. All right, everyone, be well. Get a bunch of water. I made myself a nice like spinach and ginger and like cranberry juice before this too. It was really good, really cleansing. Had a nice walk today. Just take care of yourselves.
You're wild over there, bro.
I'm old. All right, everyone, we'll be back. Full episode on Friday. Let's see if the Cavs do anything, and if not, we'll find some way to talk about more stuff for 30 minutes. Thanks for tuning in. Check out the Locked On NBA live show that's going to be going on for the next couple hours as well. And thanks to my dad for being my dad. Peace out.